Hey guys, I've been wanting to make this video for a while, and today I finally get to share it with you. Drawing creatures has been a passion of mine for a long time, and I've always wanted to make like a video compiling like how I go through my process of designing my creatures. I do have a quick disclaimer to start. I'm not a professional. I've also not taken any like courses or anything like revolving creature design. All of this comes from my own experience and my own like experimentation with my own designs. I realized that I would often stick to like what I knew when it came to creature design. So for this in particular design, I've done something a little more out of my comfort zone with a bigger bodied creature. My main inspiration for this one actually was goldfish. I have my own goldfish at home, and I ended up looking at them very often, and I noticed a couple interesting things about them. The way they swim is very interesting and different than I've seen from any other fish. They tend to be much slower and much more careful with their movements, and I figured that these differences would make such an interesting creature design, especially for like a large predator. You would have to think about like the way they hunt, the way they would move, how would they adapt to the environment they're in, what kind of things can they do, what would they eat, especially if they had to evolve into like such a large creature. One of the first things you're going to have to think about with any creature design is what environment they're going to be living in. Are they going to be above water? Are they going to be a sky creature? Are they going to be living in a forest? Are they going to be living in the tundra? Things like that. You're going to have to find out what traits those creatures will be having. For example, I decided that my creature was going to be a deep sea fish, a creature that could survive like deeper depths and like volcanic vents, things that are like a very warm climate. Because this is a deep water fish, I decided that I was going to be giving him much bigger eyes in order to like have much clearer vision under the water, as well as I did end up giving him 4 eyes, but that was mostly just a like personal preference thing. I just love drawing creatures with 4 eyes. I think those are really cool. As you can see here, I actually decided to give my creature some sort of leg. When I was looking at the goldfish, I noticed that the way that they swam was super interesting, and they often tended to push themselves forward with their fins. And it looked to me like a creature that was pulling themselves forward on their legs as if they were like walking across the bottom of the ocean. So I decided that I think that'd be a really interesting design to add here. For the design of the creature's legs, I ended up actually using more of a turtle's foot in order to do that, because I really liked the way that the webbing worked and the way that they could be used to claw and dig through dirt. This would also be a main thing that my creature would be ending up using for hunting, that would be able to dig through the sand or sneak around things, or maybe even catch things with its claws in order to catch its prey. I also decided to give the creature like a dislocating jaw, so that way it could unhinge, almost similar to a snake. I wanted it to be able to like possibly like take its prey whole and also keep it in its large throat or large mouth, that it would be able to store things for later, which would be extremely useful in the environment season because of how scarce some of the food can be sometimes. As you can see here, I had a little bit of trouble designing the tail that I wanted to do. I was debating between having like a much longer tail or like a shorter tail. I ended up going with a tail design much more similar to a fantail goldfish, which is what I inspired my design off of, and I think it ended up looking pretty okay. I also fooled around with the eyes just slightly here in the moment and just trying to see what would look better if it was like smaller or bigger. I ended up deciding to go with the much bigger eyes because I figured it fit the creature's vibe much more. And here I am just finalizing and adjusting some of the last line art before I move on to the color and camouflage ideas for the creature. I decided to give it a much darker color to have it blend in with its environment much more. I did experiments with some additional colors, but I did end up deciding to go with the much darker color. A lot of interesting things you'll see with sea creatures is the fact that they'll have much darker on the top and much lighter on the bottom in order to blend in. I referenced a little bit of this in my design for my creature, and I think that the whole thing ended up going pretty well. Thank you so much for watching this video. I worked really hard on it, and I hope that it would be able to at least help give you some ideas of how to do creature design. These are just some of the ideas that I used, and I hope that they can be of use to anyone else. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys have a great week.